The sun just went down. You reach over and flip a switch. Bright light instantly fills a room. You don't even think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch never existed. When the sun set, the entire world went dark, pitch black. You couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face. No candle for most of that time. Just the black sky, the stars, and whatever fire you could keep burning. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent nearly half their lives in near total darkness. And you know what? It was during those long, dark nights that humans truly became human. Tonight, I'm inviting you to sit with me around an ancient campfire. We're going to travel back in time and discover what our ancestors actually did at night. This story isn't just interesting. It might completely change how you think about sleep, storytelling, and even those 2 a.m. wake-ups you experience today. Ready? Turn off the lights and let the fire guide us. Part 1. Fire. The game changer that rewrote human life. It all starts with fire. The strongest evidence we have of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa about 1 million years ago. Deep in the ancient layers, scientists found ash, burned bones, and stone tools. Clear sign that fire was being deliberately maintained right inside the cave. Before fire, our ancestors lived just like every other primate. When the sun went down, you climbed a tree, found a safe spot, and stayed completely still. Moving around at night meant becoming dinner for leopards, hyenas, or wolves. Our eyes are terrible in the dark compared to the predators hunting us. They could see perfectly. We were basically blind. But when fire appeared, everything changed, literally overnight. A small campfire created a circle of safety about 30 feet, 9 meters, across. Inside that circle, warmth, light, safety, life. Outside it, death was waiting. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have documented that people who wander away from the fire at night are far more likely to be killed by predators. Even today, fire didn't just keep people warm or cook their food. It added 2 to 4 extra usable hours to every single day. Before fire, the productive day ended at sunset, maybe 12 hours in summer, as few as 8 in winter. Fire gave our ancestors those precious extra hours. And over thousands of generations, those extra hours completely changed our species' brains and culture. Part 2. The Campfire. The first theater, classroom, and church in 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a groundbreaking study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She spent years recording and analyzing 174 conversations among the Jew/Hoansi, also known as Kung Bushmen, in the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living close to the original human lifestyle. What she found was striking. During the day, about 80% of conversations were practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ready? Who's arguing over territory? Daytime talk was all about work, logistics, and solving problems. But when night fell and everyone gathered around the fire, 81% of the conversations turned into stories. They told tales of heroes in faraway places, thrilling adventures, myths about how the world began, and jokes that had the whole camp roaring with laughter. These weren't just entertainment. The stories sparked imagination, helped people understand others across a wider social network, healed daytime conflicts, and passed on big cultural ideas about sharing meat, marriage, land rights, and healing rituals. Wiesner concluded that the campfire is where human culture was born. It was the original theater, where we learned to tell stories that connect us. It was the original classroom, where imagination was trained in theory of mind, understanding what others think and feel, developed. It was the original church, where humans reflected on the meaning of life, the universe, and things we cannot see. Around that fire, we stopped being just frightened prey. We became storytellers, creatures who could dream and build complex societies. Part 3. Two-phase sleep. The forgotten secret of human nights. But the night wasn't only about stories. There was something even more profound happening. Something science only rediscovered in the last few decades. You were not designed to sleep in one solid 8-hour block the way we try to force ourselves to do today. In 2001, historian Roger Kirch published research that shook up the entire field of sleep science. He spent 16 years digging through thousands of historical documents, 15th century prayer books, court records, personal diaries, medical texts, and even passages in Homer's Odyssey. He found more than 500 references to the exact same thing: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial age, people didn't sleep in one continuous stretch. They went to bed shortly after sunset, slept for about 4 hours for sleep, then naturally woke up. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, a period people back then simply called the watch. After that quiet interval, they went back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This was insomnia. This was normal human sleep for thousands of years. So what did people do during the watch? Pretty much everything. A 16th century French doctor recommended that couples try to conceive children during this window because they would enjoy it more and do it better. People visited neighbors, interpreted their dreams while they were still fresh, wrote, reflected, or simply lay in bed in the dark and thought. Medical manuals from the 1500s even advised that the watch was the best time for study and deep reflection because the mind was calm and the world was quiet. Historians have been reading these references for centuries but often mistranslated them. They couldn't imagine people sleeping any differently than we do now, so they forced the old text to fit modern experience. Then science stepped in and confirmed what history had been saying all along. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas, at the National Institute of Mental Health, ran a groundbreaking experiment. He put volunteers in an environment with no artificial light at all. 14 hours of complete darkness every night, just like our ancestors experienced before fire extended the evening. Within just a few weeks, every single participant naturally shifted into the two-phase sleep pattern. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. No one told them to do it. Their brains simply did it on their own, as if an ancient program had been waiting inside them all along. Even more fascinating, we measured their hormones during the wakeful period and found something remarkable. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin, the same hormone released during meditation and right after orgasm. The participants described feeling peaceful, deeply reflective, and almost meditative. It wasn't just a gap between two sleeps. It was its own distinct state of consciousness, one that most modern humans have never experienced. Part 4, Artificial Light, How We Conquer the Night, and What We Lost. So what killed this ancient rhythm? The answer is simpler than you might think. Light. Starting in the 1600s, cities began installing street lamps. Paris led the way under King Louis XIV, who wanted to reduce crime. London soon followed. The night, once a place of danger and fear, slowly became something people could actually move through. Then candles became cheaper. Gas lamps arrived in the 1800s. And in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb. Within a single generation, the night as humans had known it for 300,000 years was gone. Did you know the word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu? It literally means cover the fire. In medieval towns, a bell would ring at night, telling everyone to cover or extinguish their fires, not because of traffic safety, but because night was supposed to stay dark. Night was for sleeping. Night was when you were vulnerable. In many medieval European cities, walking outside after dark without a lantern was actually illegal. Night belonged to criminals and supernatural forces. People feared it in a way that's almost impossible for us to understand today. Then we conquered it. We flooded the night with light, and we called it progress. But here's what we lost. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light for an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset, especially the blue light from screens. It suppresses your body's production of melatonin, the hormone that controls sleep. Your brain can't tell the difference between a light bulb and the sun. When light hits your eyes at 11 p.m., your brain thinks it's still daytime. It delays melatonin release, fragments your sleep, and disrupts the circadian rhythm that took millions of years to evolve. Studies show that people who go camping for just 1 week with no artificial light have their melatonin cycles reset by nearly 2 hours. Their bodies start producing melatonin at sunset instead of hours later. That's all it takes for 300,000 years of programming to come roaring back. We didn't just change when we sleep. We eliminated an entire phase of human consciousness. That quiet, reflective state between first and second sleep, the peaceful, almost meditative state that Where's Volunteers described, barely exists for most people anymore. Instead, we call it insomnia and try to medicate away. But what if it's not a disorder at all? What if waking up at 2 a.m. and lying there in the dark isn't your body breaking down? What if it's your body simply remembering what it was built to do? For over 300,000 years, our ancestors lived in a rhythm that modern science is only now beginning to understand. They gathered around fires and told stories that built entire civilizations. They slept in 2 phases, with a quiet window of reflection in between. They lived in darkness, so complete that the Milky Way wasn't something you had to drive hours to see in a national park. It was simply the night sky. Every time they woke between first and second sleep, they lay there in silence, thinking about their lives, their dreams, and the world they would wake up to in the morning. We traded all of that for a light switch. And most of us never even realized what we lost. Next time you wake up at 2 a.m., don't rush to grab your phone. Just lie there for a moment. Breathe. Listen to your heartbeat. Maybe, just maybe, your ancestors are whispering across hundreds of generations. Hey, kid, got any good stories tonight? And if you ever get the chance to sit around a real campfire, or even just light a single candle, remember, you're not just warming yourself. You're continuing humanity's oldest tradition. Thanks for sitting around the fire with me tonight. What do you think about two-phase sleep? Have you ever experienced the watch? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. See you in the next story when the sun goes down.